How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. And unfortunately guys, I was one of those FPL managers, as you might have known, that captained Emmanuel Dennis in double game week 23. So what does Dennis go and do? He goes and gets 2 yellow cards in the first game of a double game week and therefore suspended for the next game. But as I always say, don't love me at my best if you can't love me at my worst. So hopefully you guys forgive me and let's move on. So going back to this specific video and the introduction to it, basically what we're going to be talking about is the team review for the Game Week 23 team. Now I know that Game Week 23 is not actually concluded yet, we still do have that Watford vs Burnley game, but I kind of made the decision that the sooner I talk about this team review, the better, kind of get it out the way and focus on the future. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this long extended winter break in the UK that we have had from FPL content. We'll be kind of upping the content this week, heading into that Tuesday deadline for Game Week 24 next week. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So I quickly just wanted to say thank you to you guys if you dropped me a DM or just replied to my community post here on YouTube about the feedback on the channel, and I've listened to your guys' advice and I've made a couple changes and hopefully you guys can see them. And if you do have any more feedback in the upcoming videos, literally anything, drop them in the comments down below as I always see your guys' comments. But now heading into the Game Week 23 team review, and we're going to start off with the bench, and this week the bench actually has some interesting talking points. So as you guys can see on the right hand side there, a pretty respectable bench, and you guys might be asking, why did I not use the bench boost? The reason I did not use the bench boost, I always say I think about a 15-point return for the bench boost is a respectable margin, and as you guys can see, 24 points on my bench, which exceeds that kind of expectation. But I honestly did not expect that United West Ham game to only have one side scoring, and we'll talk about that as we go down. But starting off with David De Gea in that United West Ham game, only picking up the 6 points after that game was a little bit cagey, and no save points for David De Gea this time, but 6 points relatively respectable. And when I do talk about who I have started in my goal in the starting 11, I might actually still get those David De Gea 6 points. Ben White exceeding those clean sheet points with another 2 bonus points. That Burnley game for Arsenal was quite a high expectation for a clean sheet, as Arsenal's defense has actually been quite strong this season. But unfortunately we did actually bench Ben White because I thought the threshold for points would have been quite low, and you guys would have seen that with even Ramsdale picking up 2 bonus points after not getting too many saves. So Ben White ends with a lovely 8 points, but also a lovely position of first place on our bench. Soufal, the West Ham defender, picking up 7 points and being the only West Ham defender getting a clean sheet after he was subbed about the 60 to 70 minute mark. So I guess that shows David Moyes that he should never sub Soufal, as they're going to lose their clean sheet, but West Ham might have been a little bit unlucky after conceding in the final minute of that fixture. Douglas Luiz then with a 3-point appearance. It kind of seems like 2 points, 3 points is going to be the expectation for Douglas Luiz, as unfortunately under Stevie G, the new manager, hasn't really picked up that attacking threat we might have thought he would have had. So definitely the 4.5 to go for is not going to be Douglas Luiz, it's going to be his colleague Ramsey, as it seems like Ramsey's the better pick, not only in the NFL, but also in FPL. So this week would have been a great week to use the bench boost, and I just hope in the future when we do decide to use the chip, it at least yields me a similar return. But now going on to our starting 11, and starting off with the defense, you guys will notice we started Ben Foster in goal. So after news that Watford double game week was coming up, I definitely had to start Ben Foster, as I might have even started him if they only had the Norwich game. Luckily though, Ben Foster did not play that fixture as they lost 3-0 at the end of the day. Really almost shock victory for Norwich there, but I guess it was 2 promoted sides playing against each other, and that Watford defense does not look too strong. So I really would not mind if Ben Foster actually was benched for this upcoming Burnley game. He did miss the initial Norwich game after testing positive, but luckily, or in an unlucky scenario, the Watford vs Burnley game only happens on Saturday in the upcoming week. So Ben Foster has been pictured in training already, and just to our luck, Roy Hodgson has been assigned as the new Watford manager, and he has been a notable fan of Ben Foster in his previous managerial appearances. So the odds are not looking in our favor here, but maybe that might be a lucky scenario, and Ben Foster picks up a 12-pointer against a Burnley side that have made a couple more new signings. But now going on to the rest of our defense, and you know it's going to be a low-scoring week when your consistent returners of Cancelo and Trent end up blanking in that game week. So unfortunately, Cancelo and Trent both conceded to their opposition teams, and therefore only ended the game with 2 points after not picking up any attacking returns as well. but I'm willing to forgive Trent and Cancelo after their relatively consistent performances. But the player I'm not willing to forgive is going to be Marcos Alonso, who came on in the last 2 minutes of that game against Spurs when they were leading 2-0 and Spurs were absolutely nowhere, to pick up only 1 point and blocking my lovely 8 points on the bench from Ben White. So I'm kind of getting annoyed about it just talking about it. I kind of forgot about this move, but I was super annoyed when Tuchel went and brought on Alonso in the last 2 minutes when there was absolutely no need, but I guess that's sometimes how it is. And in such a low scoring week, those 8 points would have done absolute wonders for our rank, and we're currently sitting about that 15k rank mark after just creeping into the top 10k in Game Week 22. But as I said, it is what it is, and unfortunately what it is Ben White on my bench with an 8-pointer, but as I mentioned, gotta forget about this and take it on the chin, as over the entire season the luck versus unluck usually balances out. But now moving on to our midfield department, and Jared Bowen, Diego Jota not returning any points. Those teams also ended up conceding, so they lost their clean sheet point, unlike Bruno Fernandes, who had a relatively quiet game but still looked quite strong in that United attack. So I guess you could have also seen that it was going to be a low scoring game when Bowen and Jota also ended up not scoring any goals after these two assets have been pretty respectable over these prior game weeks. Obviously, the big news with Bruno Fernandes is that United now have a double game week in Game Week 25 against a Southampton side at home and then also Brighton at Old Trafford as well. We now move on to our first new signing of Game Week 23, which is going to be Kevin De Bruyne from Man City. We actually transferred out Heung-min Son and then also in our forward department, but I'll get onto him when we talk about our forwards. But Kevin De Bruyne assisting Laporte in that 1-1 draw against Southampton, so I was quite happy that I managed to pick him up over someone like a Phil Foden, even though I could afford kind of either of them. Now the move for KDB was actually a placeholder for Mo Salah, but with KDB's form and also Man City's form, I might just keep hold of him with these lovely upcoming fixtures against Brentford and Norwich. The one interesting thing about KDB as well was that he only had 1 assist but picked up maximum bonus points, and it seems like the Belgian is back to his best, which is back to those jammy bonus points. So the midfield department, relatively low scoring, but at least we did have Kevin De Bruyne as our major differential going into that Game Week 23 deadline. And then finally, talking about our forwards, and this is where all the juice kind of comes from. I'm going to start off with Antonio and also Josh King, because these two assets were quite lackluster, but nowhere near the form of Dennis. So Antonio, that United game was quite low scoring, and the simple reason for the De Gea benching was also because I did own a Jared Bowen and an Antonio, and with West Ham's free scoring form, I definitely thought they could get at least one past that United defense that has actually been quite shaky. But Antonio kind of carries on this form of not scoring or assisting, and that's a relatively worrying sign because he is quite expensive in that forward department, and with fixtures for West Ham getting slightly hard in the upcoming game weeks, I might actually have to ship out the Jamaican international. Kind of talking about Jamaica, they have scheduled 3 international qualifiers over this current kind of winter break, so make sure you monitor his minutes and his injury record, and make sure that he does come back to West Ham in one piece come that Game Week 24 deadline. Then moving on to the first of our Watford attacking duo, I brought in Josh King for DCL as I just really didn't favour those Everton fixtures and that Everton side, and I just kind of wanted some security from those Josh King captainers. I knew that the Dennis and Josh King captaincy would have come down to maybe a 50-50 split, and therefore I wanted to make sure if Josh King banged, I still had some points. But I know, kind of saying it now, doubling up on a promoted side, or at least Watford, who have not been that great over these prior game weeks, does seem like it's quite a mental situation. But as you guys would have seen, the forwards this season have been absolutely terrible, and therefore I think a punt on these two was a relatively fine decision. The nice thing about Josh King as well is that even though he was captain about 50% of the game, he still does have an under 100% ownership or effective ownership, and therefore for my own team, if he does score against Burnley, I still will get a green arrow. So I guess the saving grace of Game Week 23 is that with one fixture left, I am guaranteed to basically improve my rank, even though it might not be by that much. And now moving on to the disappointment, or definitely my downfall of Game Week 23, it's going to be the Emmanuel Dennis captain, but at least he was the majority captain this game week. So if you guys did not watch the fixture, Emmanuel Dennis picked up a yellow card in the first half, might have actually picked up another one in the first half, luckily not, but then in the second half goes and kind of blocks a shot off Aaron's and therefore concedes the red card. So I think the main thing with Dennis was that when I watched the fixture, he was all over the place, he was on the ball all the time, and I do think that was his kind of downfall, was that he was too involved in the fixture and therefore was picking up quite a few fouls. But I wasn't making any excuses for him, it's just kind of a mental situation. The striker in a double game week picking up a yellow card in the first game, it's unheard of in my opinion, and therefore I have to just look at it and laugh. I do also apologize if you guys captain Dennis. There's not much in it between these two options. It was either Josh King or Dennis, and I think we got a little bit unlucky, or maybe had a little bit of bad juju on this Dennis captain. But now you guys can see that it was an absolutely terrible week. I'm pretty sure most of us had a bad game week. Comment down below what you guys ended up on. I want to see if you had an absolutely terrible week, an absolutely insane week. I want to see how you guys did, and hopefully we can have some good green arrows heading into these upcoming game weeks. But this is wrap up the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did, and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. I'll be coming with you with loads of content from now till that Game Week 24 deadline on Tuesday evening. So make sure you guys have it in your calendar and have my notifications on, so whenever I upload a video, you get it straight away. But I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.